Last week in Assetto Corsa Competizione I had to learn a new track for the very first time. Well, this week we're going to a track I know, but it's also a track I hate. It is safe to say that the start of this new Low Fuel Motorsport season has not been kind to me. Now, I've been dreading today's race at Misano, but luckily I've been placed into a low split. It means I'm car number 2 and I've qualified P6 with a time of 1:35.4. I think that's about my limit on pace, so getting into the top 5 here might be tough, but with half a second back to Emil Glausinski in P7, I've got to be aiming to maintain that 6th position. This Misano though, anything can happen. I could easily get caught up in a big wreck, or I'm equally likely to press my own self-destruct button. Wish me luck.
Well, Lucas Furman in that red BMW right behind me, looking menacing as we start. Furman moves to the outside. I got a pretty good launch, but there's just nowhere to go. I had no choice but to lift with that roadblock in front of me, and it looks like Furman had the right idea going wide. He was able to breeze around the outside and take the position. So as we come out of the first corner, it looks like I'm maintaining my 6th place. Furman is up into 5th, Jan Vanos in 4th. Oh, and there's contact. Furman has to take a void in action. There's a McLaren out wide as well, and if I time this right, I may be able to take 2 positions with 1 move, and that is exactly what I've done. I've squeezed through up into P4, and Vanos in that Aston Martin also got through. However, he made a right mess of that left-hander out into the gravel on exit. It doesn't seem to have cost him too much time though. I did wonder for a moment whether I may be able to challenge him down the straight, but I didn't quite have the momentum. Well, this is an encouraging start nonetheless. I said before the race I didn't think I'd have the pace to get into the top 5. Well, currently I am in 4th, and it's all thanks to that double swoop through turns 4 and 5. We'll go back and take another look at it shortly, but for now we'll stick with the live action because I'm looking like I may be able to make a move on Jan Vanos here. I've certainly got the run on that Aston Martin, picking up a bit of toe as well. Can I make a move through this fast section? Well, I'm just not close enough. I'm going to have to stick right behind him instead, apply as much pressure as I possibly can. Right, let's go back and take another look at that first lap incident, and it was actually Jan Vanos who caused it. He runs into the back of the number 13 McLaren, driven by Stefan Vitteau, and the contact pushes Vitteau out into the gravel. It also causes Lucas Furman to take a void in action. I dive up the inside and take both positions. Right, back to the live action. We're starting lap 2, and I'm still breathing down the neck of that Aston Martin in front of me, right on the tail of Vanos now. Meanwhile, Vitteau in the McLaren has dusted himself down after that first lap punt into the gravel. He is in 5th position and closing in fast. Meanwhile, another mistake from Vanos in the Aston Martin. He was really wide through there. Is that the opportunity for me to try the same move again up the inside? Oh, there's just not room this time. Things are getting really close now. Oh, I've lost it, have I? No, I've just managed to save it coming through that left-hander. That was almost a catastrophe. As it is, it's cost me 2 positions. Stefan Vitteau has got past, Lucas Furman has got past, and now there's a Ferrari having a nibble on the inside. That's Rob Lute. And I'm a little bit wide on exit. I almost lose it for a second time on the curb. Dear me, I am all over the place here. Lute has now launched a challenge. And I'm going to have to get my elbows out here to fend off that Ferrari and hold on to this 6th position. Luckily, I had the inside line for that right-hander, and I've just about survived. Well, there I was saying how encouraging lap 1 was. It's all unravelled on lap 2. I've dropped from 4th down to 6th. And I've lost a lot of ground on the cars in front of me too. Meanwhile, Lute is closing in fast. Oh no, he's not! Lute has spun out in the rearview mirror. There may have been some contact there with Renault Tretaine. Well, let's take another look, starting with my mistake that cost me not 1 but 2 positions. I was right on the tail of Jan Vanos, but I just gave it a bit too much gas exiting the corner. The rear stepped out big time. I was really lucky to save that. Unfortunately though, I dropped from P4 down to P6. And then a couple of corners later, we saw Rob Lute get absolutely torpedoed by Renault Tretaine in that Lamborghini. Let's ride on board with Tretaine. When he gets properly caught out there, he's carrying so much more speed through that corner than the Ferrari, and he can't get it stopped. Right, back to the live action then, halfway through lap 4, and can I do anything at all to repair the damage from that second lap mistake? Well, I'm starting to see some encouraging signs. I was 1.5 seconds behind Furman. That gap now is just 0.6 of a second. And it's only going to come down even more as the track bunches together. However, it is also dragging Renault Tretaine along. So I've switched on the TV cam so we can keep an eye on things from Tretaine's on board. He's got the best view in the house of this battle I'm currently involved in, and he's also just 0.5 of a second behind himself, so he is very much capable of joining in this battle. Right, start of the 5th lap then. I close right in on Thurman through this section. I'm much quicker than the BMW through here. But there's just no way through. That has allowed Trotane to get even closer. 0.4 of a second the gap to my fellow Lamborghini driver. Once again I close in on Thurman, but I'm too aggressive this time. I was running way too hot into that corner. Had to back out of it, otherwise I would have run right into the rear of that red BMW. And that has given Thurman the opportunity he needed to make a break for it. Almost immediately he has opened up a 1 second advantage. So once again, Trotane is far closer to me than I am to Thurman. He's just 0.2 of a second back now. I've got some real problems with this Lamborghini. When he qualified down in P12, but he's clearly found some race pace here. Meanwhile, there's an incident in front. Is this an opportunity to get past Vanos? I'm going to keep my exit as tight as possible, get on the gas as quickly as I can, and yes, I have got past the Aston Martin. And I didn't actually see what happened to Vanos, so let's take another look. He's the number 7 Aston. Is he going to lose it himself, or is there contact from the Ferrari behind? Oh yeah, there's contact. That was Giovanni Polaric barging his way through, riding on board with Polaric. And unfortunately, we've seen quite a few moves like this in ACC recently, really launching it up the inside when there's not really the space to do so. Right, towards the end of this 5th lap then, I'm just 0.7 of a second behind Thurman now. However, I've got Vanos breathing down my neck, so I'm going to switch the TV cam back on. This time we're riding on board with Vanos in the Aston Martin. Now, actually, when I was right behind Vanos on lap 1, I felt like I had a bit more pace than him. So if that is still the case, I'd hopefully be able to make a break for it as long as I can get a clear lap or two in. That might not happen, though, if I get closer to the red BMW in front. Once again, the pack bunch is closer together. Thurman almost loses him. The rear steps out. He's managed to hold on to it. Is this an opportunity for me? Can I make a move up the inside into this upcoming right-hander? Well, I'm just not close enough. And that was really unfortunate the way Thurman slid then. He slid back onto the racing line, which effectively blocked my way through. I had to lift, otherwise there would have been contact. But it's clear now that Thurman is feeling the heat. So let's take advantage of this. Let's put him under as much pressure as I possibly can. If I can take a tighter line through this corner, I may get a faster exit. That's exactly what's happened. I'm right on the tail of the BMW now. And look at Vanos behind. He's not close enough to challenge, so that's going to enable me to really open up this corner. I can take a much wider entry, get the corner squared off quicker, and then get on the gas quicker. It has worked exactly as I'd hoped. Oh, I would be thrilled if I could pull off this pass, but it's not done yet. It looks like the BMW may have a bit more grunt. So we're going to be side by side all through this section. It's time to get my elbows out once again and barge my way through. That is me up into P4. Yeah, once I engineered that opportunity, I did not want to let it slip. Look at Vanos. Vanos had a sniff up the inside of Thurman as well. He tried to force his way through the gap that I'd created. He wasn't quite able to do it though. But let's have another look at this. Really happy with this overtake. I mean, if Vanos was any closer behind, I wouldn't have been able to make this pass. I wouldn't have been able to leave such a big gap on the inside. As it was, I was able to take full advantage of that wider line. That gave me the extra impetus I needed to push on and make the overtake. Thrilling stuff here at Misano. Right, back to the live action. We're now on lap 11. There's just 8 minutes left on the clock. And while it might look like I'm in a comfortable 4th position, it has been anything but comfortable. I'm having to consistently lap in the 135s just to maintain that 1 second advantage over Lucas Thurman behind. And every time I open up the gap to 1.5 seconds, I go and make a silly little mistake, just like through this corner. I'm a little wide on exit, so I have to lift off the gas just so I avoid a repeat of that earlier scare that I had on that outside curb. So once again, Thurman within 1 second of me. But look in the rearview mirror. Finally, he's made a mistake of his own. He's drifted wide through that right-hander. And that has given me some much-needed breathing room. After that, he had his hands full with Renault Trotane. So for the final few laps of this race, I actually had some peace and quiet as Lucas Thurman decided to defend that 5th position. He wanted to hold off Trotane rather than concentrate on chasing me. Which brings us to the final lap of the race. Look at that gap back to Thurman now. It is 3 seconds, so I've got no pressure at all behind. And that enabled me to find a really good rhythm for these final couple of laps. I started to close in Giovanni Polaric. Now, for most of the race, Polaric has been a good 3 seconds clear of me. However, over these final couple of laps, I have reduced reduce that deficit to just 1 second. However, we're just going to run out of time. The checkered flag is out. Palaric is going to take the final podium position and I'll have to settle for 4th. But I am so happy with that on a track that I really dislike. And my fastest lap in the race was a 1:35.6, so a little bit slower than my qualifying time, but proof that I did have the pace to challenge for a podium, if only I'd not made those mistakes in the early going. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. Sometimes it is worth taking the plunge with a track you don't like. You can still get an excellent race. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers for now.